We welcome everyone. But there's becoming a distinct difference between owner-operator farms, regardless of size. Regardless of size. There are farms that are 15,000 acres that are owner-operator. And people that are buying land for investment purposes only. And if you drive, you know Northern Ontario, maybe not as well as I do, but if you drive north of my place and you go to Matheson, those are all owner-operator, and they look as close to everywhere in Southern Ontario as you think. You go a bit farther, there's a lot of investment. People who bought land for investment. It was cleared, tiled, and there's nothing there. Nothing. For years. And it burns me because when this started happening in Iroquois Falls, I told the people there, because they lost their paper mill, I said, oh no, wait a second. Don't be afraid of agriculture. I'm a farmer. I'm telling you, it'll look like Temiskaming. Well, you know what? It doesn't. It doesn't. Because buying farmland in Northern Ontario is a good investment. But they see it as an investment, not as a food production unit. And I'm not saying it won't, and I'm not saying that all of it's like that, but I just drove the Monteith. There was a great event in Iroquois Falls on Saturday, and I drove the Monteith Road. And the Monteith Road used to be all trees. It's private land. It's not Crown. It's private land. No, I got no problem with people buying private land. And the Monteith Road is all cleared. A lot of it's tiled. And there's not one crop of any type growing on it. Just branches and I think that there is a lot of potential in Northern, I know there's a lot of potential in Northern Ontario, and a lot of that land is Crown land. That's not the land I just mentioned, but I think I would like to hear from the government what their northern strategy is, but how the potential to use Crown land for agriculture is there. But how that Crown land is used is going to be very important, because if we take land out of forestry and put it into the private sector, and all it is a way to make money on speculation, we aren't gaining anything. And that's what's happening to a lot of that land, the private land now. So I just wondered if you could comment if your government has thought about that.
Sure. Well, I've taken your question to heart, and I think you should also have confidence when I say, respectfully, there's a few Northerners that see so much potential in our agri-food sector in the north. And I think about George Peary at this time. And I was in the Timmins, Matheson area in early December. And it's fascinating driving around with him, because he is a true Northerner through and through. And he said growing up, essentially the Northern economy was based on a three-legged stool: forestry, mining, and agriculture. And as we toured the area, he was pointing out all the lands that as a kid he remembered seeing in full production. So I'm going to park that for a moment and go to, of course we have Vic Videli in Northern Ontario, but you're talking north of North Bay. I want to go northwest for a second. When I first came into this chair, there was a disastrous drought happening in the summer of 2021. And Greg Rickford was awesome to work with, in the sense that, his area of northwestern Ontario was absolutely in despair. And we were working hard to support the beef farmers in particular with supplementing the hay supply from all over Ontario. And I'm really proud of the effort that went into that. And when I was up there, we toured a key area, from Rainy River and Emo to Thunder Bay and back. And I want to share this with you to demonstrate how responsive our ministry was. So we started off in Thunder Bay and then headed west and worked our way back. And we were here, and it would have been probably late September-ish when I was there.
1 minute.
And holy smokes, time flies. And anyways, in short, very fast, there was also a new need identified in terms of wells. And so I think from the time I drove back from Rainy River to Thunder Bay, it's like we need wells. They need to be digging now before the frost sets in. And by the time I got back to Toronto, that program was already being pulled together. So we're being very responsive. Our ministry also invested in a significant project, pilot project, to identify how we can get agriculture back into the north. And this particular pilot was in between Timmins and Matheson, the clay belt. And yes, drainage is very, very important. And so we need to keep working on that. But it is a priority for me, and I look forward to working with you on that, quite frankly. Okay. Yes.